Before we get into my story, make sure to please hit the subscribe button. It means the world to me. This is the following part to my story. If you haven't seen the previous one, you should click here and watch the story from the start.
Pack all your stuff and get the heck out of the office, he barked on the phone. You've been fired. I'm terminating all the contracts signed with you. You are no longer a partner in the bank.
What? Why? I asked in shock. He was kidding, right? He couldn't do that.
You are not entitled to ask me questions, he replied. I can fire anyone, anytime, without notice. Now get out!
And then he hung up, leaving me frozen to my spot. Of course, why did I bother asking him? This was what Natalie had been planning, and this was all her doing. I didn't even have words left to describe how I felt anymore. I got up from my seat and walked out of the office robotically. I started stumbling in my steps after leaving the building, thinking about how my sisters had ruined my life so easily yet again. I had been fired and had lost everything I owned within a matter of a few seconds. It was so easy for them to do this to me again and again while I could do nothing but watch it happen helplessly. I felt my phone vibrating in my pocket, but I was in no mood to check it. I was in no mood to do anything. I felt numb, both inside and outside. Soon enough, I collapsed down in a corner of the sidewalk. Passerbys gave me a weird look, but none of it mattered to me at that moment. I don't know how long I was sitting there, but at some point of time, a pair of high heels stopped in front of my eyes. I glanced up to find Beth staring down at me with a concerned look on her face. "Milton, what happened?" she asked in a quiet voice, crouching down in front of me. When I didn't reply, she pulled me closer to give me a hug. "Don't know what happened, but I've been so worried about you," she said. "I was waiting at that cafe for you and kept on calling you, but you didn't receive my calls. No one at the office could tell me where you disappeared to, so I decided to find you myself. And this is the last place I expected you to be." She pulled back to meet my eyes. "Please, Milton, you have to tell me what happened with you. I'll help you with anything." I took a deep breath, trying to compose myself, but instead, I broke down in tears. I couldn't take it anymore. I had been holding it in for too long, and this was the last straw. Beth pulled me into a hug again, and without asking any more questions, she called a cab and took me to her place. A few hours later, she was handing me a glass of water. "Are you feeling better now?" she asked, taking a seat beside me on the couch. I nodded, and then cleared my throat. "Thank you. For everything." "Do you want to talk about what happened?" she asked. "Is there anything I can help you with?" I shook my head. I have given up now. No matter what I do, it's my fate to always end up miserably. I don't have the energy to fight anymore. It will be better if I just rot away in a small apartment doing odd jobs to sustain myself. "Milton," Beth placed a hand on my shoulder. "I know it's difficult, and I know it feels like you can do nothing anymore. But please, just take some time to clear your head before arriving at any decision. It's not like you to give up. You're one of the strongest people I know. You always fight back and stand up on your feet, no matter what life hurls at you." "I'm tired now," I told her honestly. "I know I can try and achieve everything again, but then what? Natalie and Penny will once again do something to ruin me, and I'm tired of this." "Think about it, Milton," Beth prodded. "Why is it so easy for them to do this to you every time?" I gave it a thought. "It's because they always get a hold of my business partners and bosses to turn them against me." "Then, what if you don't rely on partners anymore?" Beth suggested. "Start your own independent setup, and instead of relying on partners, you can rely on a huge customer base. Natalie certainly can't get a hold of millions of people and turn them against you." Okay. Wow, when she put it that way, it seemed like there was still hope. She was right. I could start a customer-oriented company, and I would never again be at the risk of losing anything if I didn't have any partners. The only problem was that I would have to invest my own money. It was going to be a huge amount if I had to do everything myself from scratch. Beth offered me to stay at her place and remain underground for a while. It was better if I was not in the public eye for some time, and I just felt too disgusted in myself to even show my face to anyone. I gave up the luxury apartment in which I was living, as it was situated in the same building as the bank, and I started saving all my money. Now, I was going to need every single penny if I was going to build my company from scratch. After I cleared my head for the next 2 days, Beth and I sat down together to come up with a game plan. This was going to be my master stroke. I was not going to leave any loose end for my sisters to attack on. I studied all the reports and files of my previous company and jobs and found out every loophole. These were the holes that I was going to fill up this time and emerge stronger than ever. Beth helped me through every part of this process, and both of us came up with a solid strategy in the end. There were 3 parts to our plan. Number 1, Beth was going to climb up the food chain of the bank and take over the founder. If James could take my company from me, then taking over the bank, which was controlled by such a hated person, wouldn't be too difficult. We just had to dig up some dirt on him, expose him, and bam! He would have no option but to step down. Number 2, I was going to launch my own company. It was going to be all about cryptocurrency and the connected devices that would make the use of cryptocurrency easier. I needed a lot of funding for this, and Beth and I were going to pool in all of our savings together. Number 3, I was going to have a plan B this time. I needed something to fall back on if something went wrong. That's why, using whatever influence I had presently, I was going to launch myself into politics and grow in that field. Not only was that going to keep me covered, but also serve as a platform to speak my mind. So, this was what we decided after a whole month of deliberating on the pros and cons, the strong and the weak points, etc. Now, all that was needed was to apply these plans and get into action. We started with Beth. Beth's position had been stagnant for years. She had been a partner for many years now, and there was no progress. It was mainly because of the founder who didn't promote anyone past the partner position, because he wanted to be in the major control. Well, here was the thing. He had earned himself a bad reputation amongst everyone because of his habits. As I already told you all, the bank would have closed long ago if not for his highly skilled and dedicated employees. On top of everything, his employees were loyal. No matter what he did or how bad he treated them, no one would ever raise a voice against him. Well, that was about to change. Now was the time to use my influence with the media and social sites to reveal what the founder had done. If you all remember, then I was advertised all over the city when they made me the new partner. So, sacking me all of a sudden was surely going to raise a lot of questions. I had been underground for a month to avoid everything, to avoid people in general, but I couldn't do that any longer. I replied to all the media houses that had contacted me about my disappearance, and responded to all the social media queries. Many interviews and live broadcasts were scheduled, and I attended every single one of them to tell the truth about the funder, what his real nature was, and how he had unjustly fired me. I also told everyone how he walked all over the people who were the reason to bring his bank to the top. Meanwhile, Beth worked from the inside and started a rebellion among the employees by igniting them against the founder. Now, everyone was speaking about all the injustices they had suffered because of him. You would be surprised at the amount of stories being told by the employees on the TV every day. It was a national issue now. As a last stroke, I went to the police. I knew that the founder had some criminal record that he had buried with the help of his money and power. The police was absolutely enraged when I suggested this and asked me to leave. But I told them that I will turn people against them too if they don't hand over the copies of reports to me. To be honest, I didn't really expect them to take my threats seriously, but they did. Man, it was a sight. It was like they were actually terrified of me. Could it be said that I had successfully achieved such a power on the media that all these corrupt people were actually scared of me? Well, whatever. Right now, my main priority was working according to my plans. The police report of all the cases against the founder was leaked in the media, and now people were seeing him for what he really was. He had no option but to step down under the immense pressure he was receiving from all sides. And with the majority vote from the board, Beth replaced him and was now in charge. She was at the highest rank in the bank hierarchy now. Now, I had to focus on plan number 2 and 3. I made appearances in media to share my knowledge about cryptocurrency with everyone. It took me a full month to clarify the visions of my company that I was going to launch an integration to the bank, with Beth's help. We were going to launch many different services under the bank and link it to my crypto. It seemed like everyone liked my idea a lot, and they were welcoming about it in general.